Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. I am
Wow.
so excited for this one. We're diving into the world of nostalgia marketing.
Oh, yeah, it's a good
It
one.
is a good one. You guys sent in some super fascinating stuff.
Mhm.
We've got excerpts from this PDF called Nostalgia Marketing Trend, which kind of lays out like the general trends and gives some really interesting
Yeah,
examples.
some good case studies in there.
Yeah, and then a couple of sections from articles that focus on Super Bowl ads
Mm-hmm.
and then APAC marketing strategies as well.
Yeah, oh, cool.
So are you ready to kind of unlock the secrets of nostalgia marketing?
Let's do it. I think one of the things that's so fascinating about this is nostalgia marketing has really evolved from just like a tactic to like a core strategy now for brands across a multitude of industries.
Yeah, and it's everywhere,
It's
right?
everywhere.
It's not
Huh?
just like, I feel like we think of it as like, oh, the old, candy bar from when we were kids or something like that. Or
Like the retro.
yeah, but it's like luxury cars,
Totally.
fast food. It's
Yeah.
kind of wild. So let's start with Porsche.
Okay.
They've seen their biggest sales growth come from, their classic 911 model, the
Yeah.
one with that iconic design.
Yeah.
And who would have thought that in a market that is saturated with SUVs,
Right.
that this classic car design would not only stay relevant,
Right.
but actually increase sales?
It's pretty wild when you think about
It
it.
really is.
Because you think, okay, well, everybody wants the, big SUV now for their
For
family.
practicality, yeah.
Yeah. But there is that, I think the PDF calls it a heritage,
hmm
and people really connect with that heritage.
Yeah, and it said that Porsche's 911 actually saw a 24% increase in sales in 2023.
Wow.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That was their biggest increase across all models.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it really shows that people are willing to pay a premium,
Yeah.
those feelings and memories associated with a brand's past.
Totally like a nostalgia premium.
Yeah, it's almost like they're buying a piece of their own, history.
That's a great way to put it.
But what do you think is driving this willingness to pay more for something that's tied to the past?
I think that it all boils down to basic human needs.
Okay.
We all crave comfort, we crave familiarity, and I think we all want a sense of belonging.
Yeah,
And nostalgia evokes all of those feelings so effectively.
absolutely.
And I think these feelings become even more potent during, uncertain times.
Oh, for sure. I think all of us can relate to that, especially given everything that's happened in the past few years.
Oh, yeah.
But here's where I think it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Nostalgia isn't just about like looking back.
Right.
It can actually be a way for brands to signal innovation
Totally.
and like future thinking.
Yeah.
Do you remember that example from the PDF
Yeah.
about Prada designing spacesuits for a lunar mission?
It's so
Isn't
interesting.
that wild?
That is a really good example.
Prada, known for high fashion,
Yeah.
venturing into space exploration.
It's brilliant.
It's kind of crazy, but it's like they're showcasing their evolution
Yeah.
and adaptability
Right.
while also staying true to their heritage.
Yeah, like we've been here.
Yeah,
We've done this.
we're ready for the future.
I mean, you can do this too.
Yeah, we're Prada.
Exactly. And speaking of what's next, let's talk about Gen Z.
Okay.
Because research suggests that they're actually the most nostalgic generation.
It is kind of mind-blowing, isn't it?
And it's surprising. I think we tend to think of nostalgia as something for older generations,
Right.
but the data says otherwise.
Yeah.
The PDF cites a really interesting statistic. 14% of Gen Z globally say they prefer thinking about the past,
Wow.
compared to only 13% of millennials.
That's fascinating.
I know.
And then to add on to that, the report also points out that 82% of Gen Z use YouTube to watch nostalgic content.
That's a lot.
It is.
So there really seems to be like this genuine yearning for simpler times,
Yeah.
for a sense of stability and connection that perhaps feels harder to come by in today's world.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, especially because they've come of age during a period of like remarkable upheaval.
Yeah.
Like just think about it, global pandemic,
Mm.
economic uncertainty,
Yeah, climate change anxiety.
all during their like really formative years.
Yeah.
So it's no surprise that they would be seeking comfort
Yeah.
and escape in the familiar and reassuring aspects of the past.
Yeah, and it kind of connects back to that Porsche 911 example, doesn't it?
Totally.
Like maybe they're longing for a time when things felt more stable, when craftsmanship was valued,
Right.
when the pace of change wasn't so like dizzying.
Yeah.
And maybe that classic design represents just like a yearning for a simpler era.
I think that's a very compelling theory.
Yeah.
Nostalgia can provide that sense of grounding, that connection to something that feels really solid
Yeah.
and enduring in a world that often just feels chaotic and unpredictable.
Yeah, I think so too. But I think it's also important to remember that, nostalgia marketing has evolved beyond just slapping a retro logo on a product.
Oh, totally.
It's gotten a lot more nuanced.
We're seeing brands blend classic elements with like modern storytelling,
Yeah,
creating like immersive experiences, even connecting nostalgia to sustainability efforts. It's
absolutely.
really interesting.
Yeah, and I think the PDF actually mentions that brands are using the best elements of past decades, but updating them to match today's values.
I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's really smart.
so important. And I think what you said earlier, authenticity,
Yeah,
it's paramount.
it is.
Brands can't just jump on this nostalgia bandwagon
Right.
without having a genuine connection to their past
Totally.
or a deep understanding of their target audience's values.
Yeah, you can't just like force it.
Yeah.
If it feels forced or inauthentic, it's going to fall flat.
For sure. And consumers are really savvy.
They are.
They can see right through that.
Wow.
A shallow attempt to just capitalize on nostalgia.
Totally.
Speaking of expertly utilizing a moment,
Okay.
let's talk about the Super Bowl
Right.
because it feels like nostalgia marketing goes into overdrive during the big game.
Yeah.
One of the articles highlighted how brands like Hellman's
Mm-hmm.
used that reunion from when Harry met Sally,
Oh, yeah.
and then Budweiser featured those iconic Clydesdales
I love that.
to, connect with viewers
Yeah.
on this like emotional level.
It's smart.
It's really smart. And it seems like every year there's at least one commercial that makes me think about my childhood.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on this phenomenon?
I think that the Super Bowl is just like this really unique event.
Yeah.
I mean, millions of people across the country.
Yeah, from all walks of life.
Yeah.
It's true.
They all come together to watch this game. And I
Yeah.
think it's that shared cultural experience
Yeah.
that makes it the perfect platform for brands to tap into this collective nostalgia.
They're not just selling a product. They're selling a feeling,
Right.
a memory,
Yeah.
a connection.
A feeling of connection.
Yeah, it's something bigger than themselves.
Yeah.
And the Super Bowl just provides the perfect stage for that. And what I also thought was really clever
Yeah.
is that there's data to support this.
Oh, really?
The article mentioned that according to Disney, 77% of families say that nostalgia strengthens relationships across generations.
Wow.
So these Super Bowl ads with their nostalgic themes
Yeah.
are actually tapping into this very real human need for connection
Yeah.
and a shared experience.
Totally.
It's really interesting.
They're creating a moment of family bonding,
Yeah,
a shared memory that will be forever associated with their product.
I love that.
It's pretty brilliant.
Yeah,
It's a win-win.
yeah,
The brands get their message across in this really memorable way,
yeah,
and the viewers get, a dose of heartwarming nostalgia.
yeah. It's a great point.
Yeah.
Now let's shift our focus to the APAC region
Okay.
and see how nostalgia marketing is unfolding there.
Yeah.
We have an article here that highlights some really captivating examples.
All right.
Like IKEA went viral
Oh, really?
with this campaign that brought back trends,
Oh, wow.
like the Harlem Shake
Oh, my.
and the Mannequin Challenge.
I remember those.
Oh, yeah.
That was fun.
Then there's Air Sail Gore,
Okay.
who created a National Day film with a Gen Z twist.
Okay.
They incorporated retro vibes,
Yeah.
90s game shows, and of course, food.
Of course, food.
What I find really interesting about the APAC region is that it's currently undergoing this like rapid economic and technological change.
That's true.
And it creates a sense of, disruption and uncertainty,
Yeah.
making nostalgia even more appealing
Right.
as a way for brands to connect with their consumers.
It's like that comforting counterbalance
Yeah.
to that really rapid pace of
A
change.
familiar anchor
Yeah.
in a sea of just constant change.
I like that.
And these campaigns are providing that comfort
Yeah.
and familiarity,
Right.
offering like a reminder
Yeah.
of simpler times.
Yeah. And I think brands in that APAC region aren't just evoking emotions with these campaigns. They're
Yeah.
building connections.
Yeah.
They're fostering loyalty, and they're creating a sense of shared identity.
Like that Air Sail Gore National Day film.
Yeah.
It taps into those shared cultural experiences that resonate with Malaysians across generations.
Yeah.
So it's not just individual nostalgia. It's like
Mhm.
tapping into a collective memory.
Right. A shared cultural experience
Yeah.
that binds people together.
Yeah. So it seems like nostalgia is this like global phenomenon,
Yeah.
but it manifests itself in these unique ways depending on the cultural context.
Exactly.
It's fascinating how brands are adapting their strategies
Yeah.
to resonate with audiences all over the world.
For sure.
But while it's a powerful tool,
Mm-hmm.
nostalgia is not a magic bullet for marketing success.
Right.
So how can brands ensure that they're using it effectively
Yeah.
and authentically?
That's a great question. And I think the APAC article that we have here highlights some really great pitfalls to avoid
Oh,
force-fitting trends just because they're popular.
yeah.
Blatant cash grabs without any real connection to the brand's history or values. And ignoring cultural sensitivities.
Yeah.
Those are all mistakes.
They mistakes.
That can really backfire
Yeah.
and damage a brand's image.
Yeah, so like the key takeaway is authenticity.
Yeah.
Nostalgia works best when it feels genuine
Right.
and aligns with the brand's core values.
Yeah. What do you think about brands like McDonald's Singapore that are releasing limited edition socks
Okay.
featuring classic McDonaldland characters?
Yeah, I mean,
Like, are they doing a good job
I think so.
blending the familiar with something new and collectible?
I think they are.
Okay. Yeah.
Because they're not just replicating the past, they're
Yeah.
reinterpreting it for a modern audience.
Yeah. Like, how would those classic McDonaldland characters interact with today's world?
Right.
What kind of stories would they tell?
It's a great point.
Right.
So it's like using the past as inspiration to create something new and exciting
Yeah.
that resonates with today's consumers.
And to succeed, brands need to do their homework. They need to really understand their target audience, their values, their memories, and their aspirations.
Yeah, it's about creating a connection that feels real,
Right.
not forced or manufactured.
Yeah. And the PDF actually suggests that any nostalgic theme a brand chooses should tie back to their brand values or their history in some way.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
It's about finding that common ground,
Yeah.
that shared experience
Right.
that connects the brand
Yeah.
to the consumer
Right.
on this deeper, more meaningful level.
Exactly.
We've talked about the power of nostalgia, its evolution,
Yeah.
and the importance of authenticity.
Yeah.
But there's another crucial element that we need to consider.
Okay.
How can brands ensure that their campaigns are inclusive
Yeah.
and representative of diverse experiences?
That is a good question.
Because we can't forget that nostalgia,
Yeah.
powerful,
Yeah.
can also exclude those whose experiences and memories
Right.
don't fit the dominant narrative.
It's about broadening the scope of nostalgia and ensuring that everybody feels seen and represented.
I think that's so important.
It is.
And it means being mindful of cultural sensitivities, avoiding harmful stereotypes,
Yeah.
and making sure that the nostalgia being evoked is something that everyone can connect with,
Yeah.
regardless of background or identity.
For sure. And I think the Nostalgia Marketing Trend PDF actually mentions that nostalgia can reflect innovation.
Oh, interesting.
And they point to Rimowa's recent Engineered for Life campaign,
Oh, cool.
where they merge that retro appeal with
Yeah.
the forward-looking aesthetic.
Yeah.
So it's really about challenging those traditional notions of nostalgia
Yeah.
and making it more inclusive
Yeah.
and representative
Yeah.
of a multitude of experiences.
I love that. So it's about creating a shared sense of nostalgia
Yeah.
that celebrates our differences as much as our commonality.
I love that.
That brings us to another question. How do brands navigate the potential pitfalls
Right.
of nostalgia marketing,
Mm.
particularly when it comes to issues of representation
Yeah.
and inclusivity?
That's where really careful planning
Yeah.
and a deep understanding of the target audience are so essential.
Mhm.
Brands really need to be aware of the potential for exclusion
Yeah.
and actively work to mitigate it.
Yeah.
And I think they need to ask themselves, whose nostalgia are we evoking?
Yeah.
Whose stories are we telling?
Whose stories are we telling? Such a good question.
Yeah.
And they also need to be receptive to feedback,
Yeah.
willing to adjust their strategies to make sure their campaigns are truly representative
Right.
of our diverse world.
Exactly. Nostalgia marketing has the potential to be incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
But only if it's done thoughtfully
Yeah.
and with a genuine commitment to inclusivity.
It's about using the power of the past to create a better future.
Yeah.
One that's more inclusive,
Yeah.
more representative, and more connected.
I love that.
That's a goal worth striving for.
It is. Nostalgia can be such a powerful tool for positive change, but only if we use it wisely.
I agree. We've covered a lot of ground here. We've explored the power of nostalgia,
Yeah,
its evolution, and the importance of authenticity and inclusivity.
for sure.
But we've only just scratched the surface.
Right.
So stay tuned, because in the next part,
Okay.
we're going to delve deeper into the strategies brands are using to leverage nostalgia effectively
Okay.
and how they're navigating the challenges and opportunities that this trend presents.
I'm excited.
Me too.
I can't wait.
It's going to be good.
Yeah. Welcome back. We've been discussing nostalgia marketing and all the really creative ways brands are using it to connect with consumers in this ever-evolving world.
And it really is remarkable how this trend is constantly evolving. Like,
Mhm.
remember those early days of just slapping a retro logo on a product?
Right? Like that was it.
Uh-huh.
That was nostalgia marketing.
And now it's all about crafting a holistic experience,
Yes.
evoking a specific feeling,
Mm-hmm.
forging a genuine connection
Yeah.
with something authentic.
Absolutely. One of the keys to successful nostalgia marketing is really understanding the diverse ways that it can be used. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
For sure.
Some brands will use it to evoke a sense of comfort and familiarity,
Right.
while others are tapping into those shared cultural memories,
Yeah.
or even highlighting their heritage and craftsmanship.
Like Porsche. We
Yeah.
talked about them earlier.
Yeah.
They're leveraging their legacy and that iconic design to appeal to a new generation of consumers
Right.
who are seeking something that feels timeless and enduring.
Exactly. And then you have brands like Prada,
Yeah.
who are approaching nostalgia from a completely different angle, connecting it to innovation and a forward-thinking ethos.
Yeah.
The key is really finding the right angle for your specific brand
Right.
and your target audience.
And speaking of target audiences,
Yes.
we can't forget about Gen Z.
No.
They may be young,
Mm-hmm.
but they're quickly becoming known as a highly nostalgic generation.
It's true, and I think it's not just about a longing for the past.
Right.
It's about finding meaning and connection in a world that can often feel really overwhelming and uncertain.
Yeah.
The nostalgia marketing trend PDF talks a lot about how brands are connecting with Gen Z by tapping into those feelings of comfort and belonging
Yeah.
that nostalgia can evoke so effectively.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they're finding some really creative ways to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Like Ralph Lauren's new vintage program.
Oh, yeah.
It allows younger consumers to really engage with the brand's heritage and that iconic style.
Yeah, it's making the past feel relevant and accessible
Yeah.
to a new generation.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
And it's not limited to just the fashion world either.
Right.
Remember that statistic from the PDF?
Uh-huh.
82% of Gen Z use YouTube to watch nostalgic content.
Wow.
That's huge.
It's a lot of eyeballs.
It's a lot of eyeballs.
Yeah.
And it's an enormous opportunity for brands to connect with this audience
Totally.
through video storytelling shared experiences.
Yeah.
It's all about creating content that resonates with their values and aspirations,
For sure.
speaking directly to their desire for authenticity and connection.
Absolutely. But it has to be done in a way that feels genuine and organic.
Oh, totally.
Gen Z can spot a disingenuous marketing ploy from a mile away.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So true authenticity is paramount.
Yeah.
That theme came up repeatedly in the APAC article as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, experts like Lim BB from DBS and Andrew Ye from Time.
Okay.
They both emphasize the importance of genuine storytelling
Yeah.
and avoiding those blatant cash grabs that try to exploit nostalgia
Yeah.
without offering anything of real value.
Right. It's about cultivating a genuine relationship with the consumer
Right.
rather than just trying to make a quick sale.
Yeah.
Nostalgia can be an incredibly powerful tool for building brand loyalty,
Yeah.
but only if it's wielded authentically.
And the article also mentioned that, quality
Yes.
and the ability to build those emotional connections and relatability.
Yes.
Those are key factors in successful nostalgia marketing.
They are.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Consumers need to feel like the brand understands them
Yeah.
on this deeper level,
Right.
that they share the same values and aspirations.
Yeah. It's not just about selling a product.
Yeah.
It's about creating a connection that transcends the mere transaction.
I love that.
Yeah.
And that's where nostalgia can really shine.
Totally.
It has the ability to tap into those deep-seated emotional connections that drive consumer behavior.
For sure.
It's about making people feel something,
Yeah.
not just think something.
Right.
The APAC article also highlighted some potential pitfalls that brands need to be wary of,
Okay. Like what?
like force-fitting trends,
Yeah.
ignoring cultural sensitivities,
Right.
failing to blend nostalgia with fresh, innovative ideas.
Yeah, you can't just keep rehashing the same old thing.
Right.
You have to find a way to make it feel new and exciting.
What are your thoughts on this?
I think it's a really crucial point.
Yeah.
Nostalgia should be a tool for fostering connection and understanding,
Yeah.
not exclusion or division.
Right.
Brands need to be hyper aware of the potential for bias
Hmm.
and actively work to ensure that their campaigns are inclusive and representative of the diverse world that we live in.
It's about celebrating our shared humanity,
Yeah.
not reinforcing harmful stereotypes or divisions.
Exactly. And I think it's important to remember that nostalgia is at its core a deeply personal experience.
It is.
What evokes like a warm and fuzzy feeling for one person
Right.
might fall completely flat for another.
Yeah, totally true.
Yeah,
So how do brands navigate that complexity?
that's a great question.
How do they create campaigns that tap into those kind of universal feelings of nostalgia
Yeah.
while also being sensitive to those individual differences?
It all comes down to thorough research
Yeah.
and a really profound understanding of the target audience.
Mm-hmm.
Brands need to be in tune with the cultural context,
Yeah.
the shared memories, the values that really resonate with their audience.
Yeah.
It's about identifying those common threads that connect us all,
Mm-hmm.
while remaining mindful of the individual experiences that shape our unique perceptions.
It's a delicate balance.
It is.
But when a brand strikes that balance successfully,
Yeah,
the results can be extraordinary.
couldn't agree more. When nostalgia is used thoughtfully and authentically, it can create such a powerful emotional connection
Yeah.
that transcends generations and cultures.
It's a reminder that even in a world that's constantly changing,
Yeah.
certain things remain timeless and enduring, such as that feeling of comfort and connection
Mm.
that nostalgia can evoke so powerfully.
It's true. It's a powerful emotion
Yeah.
that can be harnessed to create a sense of belonging, to
Mhm.
build like unshakable brand loyalty,
Yeah.
and even to inspire positive change.
In a world that often feels divided and uncertain,
Yeah.
that's a message worth celebrating.
Absolutely. Nostalgia has the power to bring us together, to remind us of what we share, and to inspire us to create a better future.
And that message resonates now more than ever before.
And it really does.
Before we move on to the final part of our deep dive into the world of nostalgia marketing,
Okay.
I want to touch on this really interesting concept that I think beautifully ties everything together.
Okay.
Nostalgia as a form of storytelling.
Oh, that's interesting.
Think back to those Super Bowl ads we discussed.
Yeah.
They weren't just selling a product.
Right.
They were telling these captivating stories.
Yeah.
Stories that tapped into our shared memories,
Yeah.
emotions,
Mm.
and desires for connection.
I like that. That's a brilliant observation. At its core, nostalgia is a form of storytelling.
Yeah.
It's about using the past
Yeah.
to create meaning in the present.
Exactly.
Right.
And like any well-crafted story, it needs a beginning, middle, and end.
Right.
It needs relatable characters,
Hmm.
understandable conflicts, and a resolution that leaves us feeling satisfied.
And it needs to be told in a way that fully engages our emotions
Yeah.
and keeps us invested in the narrative.
Right. It's about creating a narrative that draws us in and makes us feel like we're part of something bigger than ourselves.
I agree.
And that's one of the things that nostalgia marketing does so effectively.
It does.
It takes those fragmented memories, those shared experiences,
Yeah.
and weaves them into this compelling narrative
Yes.
that speaks to our deepest desires and aspirations.
It's about connecting the dots between the past, the present, and the future,
Yes.
and reminding us that even in a world of constant change,
Yeah.
some things remain timeless and enduring.
It's a powerful reminder that we're all interconnected. We share a common history, and we're all part of something larger than ourselves.
And that's a message worth sharing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, as we continue exploring this fascinating world of nostalgia marketing,
Yeah.
let's remember that it's not just about selling products.
Right.
It's about telling stories.
Yes.
Stories that connect us, inspire us, and remind us of what it means to be human.
Well said.
Now let's move on to the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll explore some real-world examples of brands that are successfully leveraging nostalgia marketing.
All right.
And we'll discuss some key takeaways that we can all learn from their successes.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to our exploration of nostalgia marketing. We've talked about the psychology behind it, the diverse ways brands are using it, and the importance of authenticity and inclusivity.
It's been a fascinating conversation.
It really has. Now let's shift our focus to some real-world examples of brands that are just knocking it out of the park with their nostalgia-driven campaigns.
Yeah, let's see how these concepts are playing out in the real world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are there any campaigns that stand out to you as like particularly successful examples of really harnessing the power of nostalgia?
You know, one that immediately comes to mind is the Adidas Samba revival.
Oh, yeah.
It's a classic shoe,
Hmm.
initially launched way back in 1950.
Wow.
And they've cleverly reimagined it for a contemporary audience.
Yeah.
They've managed to seamlessly blend that nostalgic appeal with like modern design elements,
Yeah.
collaborating with designers like Wales Bonner.
Right,
And the
sure.
results really speak for themselves. I mean, it's been a massive hit.
And the Nostalgia Marketing Trend PDF actually mentioned that terrace shoes, like the Samba,
Yeah.
are projected to generate a staggering 1.5 billion in sales for Adidas this year.
Wow.
That's roughly 7% of their total revenue.
That's huge.
It's massive.
Yeah,
And it really underscores the power of nostalgia as like a significant driver of sales.
for sure.
What I find particularly clever about this campaign is that it appeals to such a broad spectrum of consumers.
You're absolutely right. It appeals to both older consumers who remember the samba from their younger years
Yeah.
and younger consumers who are drawn to its kind of like retro aesthetic.
Yeah, like that cool factor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a prime example of how brands can bridge those generational divides
Yeah.
through the strategic use of nostalgia.
Totally.
Mhm.
And another brand that's doing a great job of bridging generational gaps through nostalgia is Levi's.
Oh, yeah.
Their reimagined campaign, featuring Beyoncé,
Love her.
reinterprets those classic Levi's ads,
Yeah.
bringing them into the modern era with like a fresh perspective.
It's a brilliant strategy.
It is.
They're tapping into that emotional connection people have with those iconic ads
Yeah.
while simultaneously appealing to like a younger, more diverse demographic.
Mm-hmm.
And they're doing it in a way that feels really authentic and respectful of the brand's heritage.
And the PDF points out that a significant portion of their target audience,
Yeah.
59% of millennials to be exact,
Wow.
appreciate when brands incorporate familiar elements from the past,
Yeah.
like old ads or logos.
It's that recognition factor. It makes
Yeah.
them feel like part of something.
Exactly. So it's a win-win.
Yeah.
The older generation gets that hit of nostalgia,
Yeah.
and the younger generation is introduced to a brand that feels both classic and contemporary.
It's like the best of both worlds.
It is. Now let's switch gears and talk about a brand that's been a master of nostalgia for decades. Lego.
Wow. Lego nostalgia is practically woven into their brand DNA.
It is.
They've been around for generations.
Yeah.
And their products have always had that inherent nostalgic appeal.
Sure.
But what's particularly interesting is how they're leveraging that nostalgia to appeal to adults
Yes.
just as much as children.
It's so true. I was just at Target the other day,
Yeah.
and there's a whole section for adults.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And the PDF highlights that Porsche 911 Lego set,
Oh, yeah.
which is so incredibly detailed. It even has that classic rear-mounted engine. It's
good.
like they're tapping into that childhood dream of owning a Porsche
Yeah.
and making it a tangible reality,
Like, totally,
albeit in miniature form.
but still.
Oh.
And it's not just car enthusiasts they're targeting.
No, they have Lego sets for practically every fandom imaginable.
It's true.
Star Wars, Harry Potter architectural masterpieces. They're tapping into those shared cultural experiences
Yeah.
that resonate with people across different age groups and interests.
They've transformed a toy that's inherently nostalgic
Yeah.
into this multi-generational phenomena.
I have.
And they've done it by staying true to their core values.
Yeah,
Creativity, imagination, and that sense of playfulness that we all crave.
for sure.
It's a great reminder that nostalgia doesn't have to be overly serious or sentimental.
Right.
It can be fun, lighthearted, even a bit whimsical.
Absolutely. Nostalgia should be enjoyable,
Yeah.
not just another marketing tactic.
Agreed. So as we kind of wrap up our deep dive into the world of nostalgia marketing, what are some key takeaways that we can glean from these successful campaigns?
Okay, well, I think the most important takeaway is authenticity.
Yeah,
Consumers are incredibly savvy,
they are.
and they can spot a disingenuous marketing ploy a mile away.
Oh, yeah.
So brands really need to ensure that their use of nostalgia is genuine and
Yeah.
deeply rooted in their brand's history and values.
Don't just jump on the bandwagon
Right.
because it's trendy.
Exactly.
Find a way to connect those nostalgic elements to your brand
Yeah.
in a way that feels authentic and meaningful.
I love that. And I think it's also crucial to be mindful of your target audience.
Yeah.
What are their memories? What are their values? What kind of nostalgia will resonate with them on a personal level?
Such a good point.
Yeah.
It's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
It's not.
Nostalgia marketing needs to be tailored
Yeah.
to the specific audience you're trying to connect with.
For sure.
And lastly, don't be afraid to have a little fun with it.
Yes.
Nostalgia can be playful, lighthearted, even humorous.
Have fun with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about tapping into those positive emotions, those happy memories,
Yeah.
and sharing them with the world in a way that feels joyful and authentic.
I love that.
Remember, nostalgia is about more than just selling